This is your boy, Lord Thaddeus Cray. What's this one going to be about? Well, this one's going to be kind of a tie-in to some of the other stuff I've done about Sasquatch and other kinds of cryptids of that nature. There are many beliefs, excuse me, that these things are probably apes, maybe undiscovered here in this country, or possibly something similar to some kind of evolved human. And that's pretty much stuff I've covered before, but this, I'm going to kind of go into the more scientific explanation of things. Now, I'm going to kind of base a lot of this on gorillas and chimpanzees. A lot of the sightings in which people have described, whether it be on Sasquatch Chronicles or other podcasts or shows, even on dogman camps, it's been mentioned a couple of times. Of course, Vol's mentioned this. Things like this, make no mistake. How can I say this the best way? It is very possible that at least some of these cryptids are some kind of undiscovered primate. There's a reason I'm saying this. People really don't know how intelligent, especially chimpanzees and bonobos, that's another one. They're kind of an offshoot of the chimpanzee species. People don't really know how smart them things are. I mean, they're very, very smart. Also, the fact is that many people do not know this. Gorillas ain't stupid either, by the way. Do not ever think the gorilla is a dumb ape. It's not. No, far from it. I ain't saying they're geniuses by any means, because no, they are not known to be quite as intelligent as human beings. Excuse me. But it is known that the full-grown gorilla, I think it was Coco, she was one that had been taught sign language. Supposedly, she was about as smart as a 7-year-old child. That's pretty damn smart. That's really smart. So, I'm going to go ahead and go with the primate theory for this video. I've seen pictures, which definitely, from the inside, and also just different things I've seen, definitely seem to point that at least some of the behavior by Bigfoot or Sasquatch, at least some variations of them, are definitely towards that primate belief in which I have. I do believe it is a daggone crooked mustache, but anyway. I do believe that there are strong similarities when it comes to the behavior of many of these animals. And I think some of them are legitimately, I'm not going to say animals, but creatures. Because I think they're not necessarily animals. I think they're very sentient and not close to it. At least some of them, which are not the more advanced types. You have to think about this. Their behavior. They seem to have a very, how can I say this? They seem to have a very organized behavior. You hardly, true, there are sightings of one Bigfoot, sometimes by themselves, but you have to think about the fact that there have also been sightings of many of these creatures together. Like a pod, family, tribe, clan, what do you want to call it? And also, of course, you have to think about the fact that, I think it was the Patterson-Gimlin film, if I remember right, supposedly the guys who were behind that also saw another one that was near the one that was caught on camera. Now, don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But I'm just saying this. The behavior of these creatures seems to definitely relate to a lot of primate kind of behavior. Especially the way they seem to hunt, the way they seem to protect their young. A mother Sasquatch, I'm pretty sure, is just like any female primate. Viciously protective. I'm pretty sure I'd rather deal with a female bear protecting her cubs. That's something pretty freaking scary from what I've heard. A couple of outdoorsmen I've talked to say. Make no mistake, that's something I would never ever want to come across. Now you have to think about this. Most likely a Bigfoot, if it is a primate, it's obviously humanoid something. But let's just go ahead and go with the theory that it's like, one of the great apes or something probably much larger and probably a little smarter. If not a lot. Now you're talking about something like something that could probably take on a bear and rip it apart, limb from twitching limb, if it wanted to, especially a tribe of them. Now you got to take this into account. how many so-called attacks have happened when someone was closer to their young or in territory that they weren't wanting you in. Walt himself has mentioned behavior along those lines. You get too close, they'll try to do a bluff charge, or sometimes if the person's unlucky enough, well, there ain't no bluff about it. You're done. You're gone. Goodbye. Missing 411, most likely in the next life. My point is this. Chimpanzees, especially the big bulls, they're known for doing that. Females, of course, will too, in protection of their younger territory. Gorillas are damn sure known to do it, especially those big, massive silverbacks, man. You got to think about that. These things are very territorial. Am I saying they're dangerous innately? Probably not. I don't think so at all, necessarily. I mean, as long as you leave them alone, there won't be a body count. It's just that simple. The reason I'm bringing this up is because not everything is about the woo. Okay, I'm basically bringing scientific facts as best I know. Now, do I think there is definitely woo qualities to some of these creatures? Oh, obviously. Something we can't understand, it just is what it is. I mean, you can just figure out so much, especially something we've never really come across. Now, what could it be if it's an ape or a primate of that type of thing? I think, like I said, I've mentioned this before, but not too much. It could be a massive unknown species of ape like the Gigantopithecus, which is supposedly extinct. Now, these things were known, if I remember right, to be, well, obviously they were huge, for one. They were like over 10 foot tall, probably weighed, I'm pretty sure the males were huge, undescribably monstrous. And also, you have to think about this. They stood, if I remember correctly, on their hind legs. On 2 feet. They were hominoids. That's what I believe they were. At least that's what science seems to be pointing out to. These creatures, like I said, many of them show that ape kind of behavior. Like, they're territorial, smart, and things like that. And I mean, people think that apes are, these giant, these big old friendly, almost forest guardian types. No, they're not. Chimpanzees are known to be vicious little bastards. If you don't believe me, look up the thing called the Chimpanzee War on YouTube. Google it. It's back in the 70s. Two tribes split. One tribe split because the male was almost like a homicidal maniac and they didn't want to fool with him. But he taught the other chimpanzees who remained with him pretty much to how to do some bad stuff. That's exactly what they did. They went to war. They killed the lesser group. Then another group came in and drove them out. I mean, I'm just saying, these guys are not, I'm just saying, they're not, like Curious George, okay? These things are, don't get me wrong, they have a compassionate side, they've even been known potentially to, they'll even adopt other members into their tribes or whatever. But I'm just saying, they are dangerous. Don't ever kid yourself thinking that, these things are innately friendly. They're not. They are vicious potentially. Like I said, not always. But when it's time for that to come out, boy, does it come out. Something else to think about. Just recently, I was looking at a video just now. It's kind of what prompted me to do this. Chimps and gorillas have been known to actually fight each other. Now, how far that's gone, I haven't watched the entire video, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's just something people don't know. So when it comes to aggression from a Sasquatch, you have to think about this. If we're going by the, just like the ape theory or the primate theory, you're talking about an animal or a creature that is much larger than any gorilla. I'm pretty sure a big alpha Bigfoot could take a silverback and tie it in knots. And it's obviously smarter. These things are smart enough to cover their own tracks. They're not dumb. They're not dumb. It's like on the last, I think it was the last live show with Vault, I brought this up. These creatures are known to teach their young. Animals do that in the wild anyway. They teach their next generation how to survive if there's a certain trick they learn or something they know. You better believe it. Actually, there was an orangutan, I think, that was filmed. He had watched people using spears to catch fish. He tried it himself. Fashioned a stick and tried something similar. He failed. But I'm pretty sure as time goes on, if he, let's say he has a family of his own, they may learn from that and be like, hey, try this. Maybe next time you'll get it. Think on that, man. That's scary stuff. That's really scary stuff. and also fascinating stuff when you think about it. So I'm pretty sure that again, you're talking about a creature that may be even smarter than your average human. I don't know. But you're talking about a creature that is obviously intelligent and capable of teaching its children. I mean, that's obviously how that's what sentient species do. They teach their young what they know. That in itself may be one of the reasons they avoid cameras. There's been footage, supposedly, it may have been a hoax, but I can't say one way or the other. I'm not going to accuse nothing of nothing. But what if, like I said, this footage was of a, supposedly something, burying a field camera, and then it just moved on right by it. These things have been known to rip trail cams literally out of trees. Sometimes they'll rip the tree out. And, like I said, these critters ain't dumb. They're not. That right there is something that obviously knows it's being watched, and it ain't wanting to be. And as territory shrinks, as we through deforestation and us, ripping woods up, like forests and stuff, up, for habitat and to build our homes, because you have to have lumber to build a house. This is going to be a big thing. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of these critters. Especially with everything going on abroad. I think maybe in some ways, I'm not going to say it's to distract, but I think that's part of it. That's just something to really think about. Like I said, never underestimate just how intelligent an ape, even a monkey, can be. Trust me, these things could also be maybe an offshoot of an ancestor of ours, like I said before. That is even more something to think about. Think about the Neanderthal. These guys they definitely existed. And physically, they were much more robust than us. I'm pretty sure they could probably lift 3 to 4 times what we could. They were much stronger than us. And actually, they may have even been as smart. They had a bigger brain than we did. They just kind of evolved in a different way. I'm just going to leave it at that. Just really think on, this is like the scientific side. I deliberately left out the supernatural stuff because I wanted to kind of bring a little bit of logic to balance out that. Do I think these creatures could possibly have other abilities? Obviously. Well, I'm just bringing out seen behavior and what it definitely has to coincide with when it comes to natural things. I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys be blessed and you be safe.